Hey, music junkies. As many of you already know by now, we recently lost one of the greatest rock and roll singers of the era, legendary Ronettes frontwoman Ronnie Spector. Sadly, on January 12th, 2022, she passed away at the age of 78 after a brief battle with cancer. She was with family and in the arms of her husband, Jonathan, at the time. And here at Professor of Rock, we definitely want to extend our condolences to her family and recognize her incredible contribution to music history. Her legacy will continue to inspire people for centuries to come. Veronica Bennett grew up in the Spanish Harlem neighborhood of New York City, formed the Ronettes in 1961 with her older sister Estelle and cousin Nedra. Teaming up with the Wall of Sound producer Phil Spector, they released a number of hit singles in the 1960s, including Baby I Love You, Do I Love You, and Walking in the Rain. But of course, the biggest hit of them all was the historic Be My Baby, which climbed all the way to number 2 in the US Hot 100. The Ronettes broke up in 1967, and Ronnie and Phil Spector married in 1968. But after enduring years of psychological abuse, horrible abuse, Ronnie divorced Phil Spector in 1974. Later in 1982, she married the love of her life, Jonathan Greenfield. Just a few of the many highlights of Ronnie Spector's incredible career included touring with the Rolling Stones, singing backup for Jimi Hendrix, and inspiring so many rock luminaries, Brian Wilson, Billy Joel, Bruce Springsteen, so many others to write music patterned after her styles, what they did. 1986, Ronnie's solo career reached its zenith when she collaborated with Eddie Money for the top 5 smash, Take Me Home Tonight, one of the greatest songs of the 80s. Now, to give Ronnie Spector a proper tribute, we absolutely have to take a closer look at her signature song, Be My Baby. We're actually planning on covering this on our Number One in Our Hearts program, because it absolutely deserved to be a number 1 hit on influence alone, and it got as close as a song can. Be My Baby was the first in a group of songs that songwriters Jeff Barry and Ellie Greenwich penned with Phil Spector. Lyrically, it's very simple. It's about a girl who's trying to convince a guy she likes to give her a chance. She lets him know that she's been into him from the day that they met and that she thinks that they can pass the test of time. Looking back on the song, Ronnie said that it felt like they took the lyrics straight from her life. It was during a time when she was still very young, very innocent. She remembered Phil Spector coming to her house and seeing the dolls in her room, and he asked her about them. She said, I give them a kiss every night. I give them a kiss on the forehead and one on each side of their cheeks before I go to sleep. End of quote. That explanation became the Be My Baby's lyric. For every kiss you give me, I'll give you 3. You give me I'll give you 3. First time Ronnie was supposed to meet with the songwriters about Be My Baby, Phil had Ronnie wait in the penthouse guest room. Meanwhile, the rest of the trio worked on composing the song. As she overheard them singing, she thought that it was very catchy and wondered, is that a hit record? Well, she didn't have to wonder, it definitely was. Phil had Ronnie rehearse the song for weeks before she flew out to Gold Star Studios in LA to record it. That was in July of 1963. Because she was so shy, Ronnie did all her studio rehearsals in the ladies' restroom. When it came time to record, she knew the words backwards and forwards, and she absolutely nailed them. Phil Spector utilized a bevy of musical instrumentation to create his famous Wall of Sound production, of course, like guitars, saxes, pianos, and horns. as well as some innovative studio mixing and overdubbing, were all layered to create this effect. He played the track over and over again, listening for things to improve. He was a notorious control freak and really never showed emotion. But after Be My Baby, he was clearly excited. The first time that Ronnie heard the finished version of Be My Baby, she was on tour with the Ronettes. It was a Saturday morning. She woke up in her motel room and she turned on American Bandstand.
From Philadelphia, it's time for America's favorite dance party, American Bandstand.
Barely awake, Dick Clark introduced the next record as the hit of the century. Wondering what it was, Ronnie couldn't wait to hear it. When Be My Baby started playing, she was sure that she had fallen back asleep because she had to be dreaming. But of course, she wasn't. Be My Baby hit the charts in the last week of August 1963, and it turned out to be a massive hit. It went to number 1 on the Cashbox Top 100, went to number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100. You couldn't turn on the radio without hearing Be My Baby. Not only was Be My Baby a mega hit in its day, but its legacy, of course, has continued to grow since then. Over the years, Be My Baby has been featured in so many films and TV shows. Just to talk about a few of them, I've Got a Secret in 1963.
I've Got a Secret, brought to you tonight by...
It was in Mean Streets in 73. Moonlighting in 87.
There is the sun.
Dirty Dancing in 87. And The Wonder Years in 1990.
What would you do if I sang out of tune?
How I Met Your Mother in 2007, Baby Mama, Glee, Shaft, and American Dad, all in the 2000s. It's also been covered so many times, and too many artists have covered to mention all of them here, but here's a little sampling. The Shirelles did it. I believe that was in the early 70s. John Lennon recorded a version in 73, was later released in 98. The Bay City Rollers did it in 74. Linda Ronstadt did it in 96. Melissa Etheridge. Brian Wilson did it. Louis Recolts. Aaron Neville. Lisa Loeb. Now, in 1976, Billy Joel released Say Goodbye to Hollywood. It was a song that he modeled after the Ronettes' Be My Baby. Billy Joel intentionally mimicked Ronnie's vocal stylings, recycled its unforgettable intro drum beat, and recreated that iconic wall of sound from the ground up, really.
Say goodbye, my baby.
1977, after Joel's release of Say Goodbye to Hollywood, Ronnie recorded her own version with the E Street Band. So awesome.
Say goodbye, my baby.
Billy Joel said in interviews, I always said that I wrote this song with Ronnie in mind, so when I heard that she wanted to do Say Goodbye to Hollywood herself, I just flipped out. And I loved the version that she did with the E Street Band.
Say goodbye to Hollywood. Say goodbye.
I thought it was the perfect record for FM radio. Speaking of the E Street Band, it's well known that Bruce Springsteen's Born to Run production was directly inspired by the Ronettes and the Wall of Sound, girl groups from that time. It had such an impact on so many. Billy Joel and Ronnie met about a year later. He was doing an interview at the BBC when she came into the studio. No doubt Billy Joel was in awe. He'd always been a fan. And to have her tell him how much she loved recording his song, it was a moment that he'd never forget. But Billy Joel wasn't the only musician to fall head over heels over the former Ronette, and her influential music, her sound.
Yeah, that was a big video.
Great video.
Thank you.
Yeah. One of the great music videos in MTV history.
I would have to say so. And you know what? They still play that song when everybody goes home at night. The last call, all the clubs all over America, they play Take Me Home Tonight, which is amazing. It's real, you know. To be the last song of the night to this day is pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Well, for my generation, I mean, it was literally our introduction to Ronnie and the Ronettes.
Right,
I mean,
yeah, sure.
when I was listening to my dad say, "You hear this? Be My Little Baby." That's a song.
Right.
Be My Baby.
Did he play it for you?
And and he played it for me.
Right,
And that's
yeah.
how I mean, that taught
And
me
it's a
rock
better
and
song
roll.
than Take Me Home Tonight, by the way. It really is. The night we met, I knew I needed you so.
Well, you know, that
It's better than I
inspired.
Feel the Hunger. It's a hunger. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a better tune. I said, we should get Ronnie Spector to do this.
The single went through the roof. She and Eddie Money collaborated on a video for MTV and performed on a host of TV shows ranging from David Letterman to American Bandstand. I remember just being blown away by her beauty, by her presence. Ronnie Spector, there's just never going to be another. Brian Wilson was enamored with Ronnie Spector. I mean, Be My Baby was incredibly inspirational to him and even played a role in helping him learn how to produce records.
Well, I had to pull over the side of the road. I could not believe, what I was hearing. I never heard anything like it in my life. So I pulled over and listened to it, and I absolutely couldn't believe it. I was like flabbergasted.
And that's when you were kind of heard that Phil Spector production.
Right. The Wall of Sound, yeah. That's when I first heard it. Then I bought the record, Be My Baby, and I learned I listened for drum beats and guitars and pianos, and I learned how to combine one instrument with another to get a third sound, Piano, guitar, which makes one sound instead of piano and a guitar. It's piano and guitar.
It kind of inspired Don't Worry Baby.
Right, that did inspire Don't Worry Baby, yeah.
Brian Wilson, and no doubt about it, musical genius. He soaked it all in, from Ronnie's voice to the background vocals and the way the guitars and piano melded together into a single sound. Wilson was in love. In fact, Wilson was so smitten with it that his daughters remember waking up every day to the sound of Be My Baby, playing at maximum volume in the house. In 1999, Ronnie released her own cover of the Beach Boys' Don't Worry Baby. That was part of her EP, She Talks to Rainbows. It was a song that she wished could have been written for her. Kind of was. In 2002, Ronnie visited Brian Wilson before his show in New York City to tell him how much she loved him. The Ronettes were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that happened in 2007. Ronnie Spector said about it, "We waited so long. I mean, we really waited long. We went through lots of ups and downs. I never thought I'd get here, but here I am. I am blown away."
I never thought I'd get here, but here I am.
There will never be another Ronnie Spector. She was a kind of interpreter of rock and roll that you just don't see. The queen of the wall of sound and one of the biggest musical influencers of the entire era. As has been said by her family, Ronnie lived her life with a twinkle in her eye, a spunky attitude, a wicked sense of humor, and a smile on her face. She was filled with love and gratitude. I mean, her joyful sound, playful nature, and magical presence will live on in all who knew, heard, or saw her. When Ronnie sang the first few lines of Be My Baby, she sang what we all feel about her. The night we met, I knew I needed you so, and if I had the chance, I'd never let you go. Even though Ronnie Spector is gone, we will never let her soulful music go.